Hello and welcome to Hindu at 7. My dear friends, I am Saurabh and you are watching the English session of the Hindu editorial analysis. If you want the link of the Hindi session, you will find that in the pinned comments. Now, my dear friends, as we all know that Hindu editorials are extremely important for various examinations, whether it's your syndicate bank exam or Canara bank exam or SBI Clerk exam. You must follow and you need to follow this if you are serious about cracking the comprehension or close test or parajumble or other passage-based exercises of your examination. And not only this, my dear friends, it is also very important for various examinations like UPSC, CTET and CLAT. So do watch the entire session for your own benefit. Now, my dear friends, let's take a look at the very important motivational quote that we have here for you. Can we have the motivational quote? Yes, it's right here for you, my dear friend. Now, understand over here. Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. Now, my dear friends, there's something that I keep telling you again and again, and that is, I do not have a problem with your failure, but I do have a problem if you give up. Because I can accept failure, but I cannot accept giving up. So no matter what may come in your life, my dear friends, do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on trying for your chances. Do not give up on government job. Do not give up on family and friends, because those who give up, they never achieve something. Always remember, guys, that winners never quit and quitters never win. Okay, my dear friends, so remember these words, these gem words of Thomas Alva Edison, that our greatest weakness lies in giving up. Now, my dear friends, let's come back to the center screen. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to take a look at all the important articles that got printed in today's The Hindu, and then, my dear friends, we shall analyze the most important, two of the most important articles that we have here. We shall also discuss the questions. We shall also discuss the vocabulary words. In short, we're going to have fun with the Hindu editorial analysis of 16th Feb. So, guys, let's take a look at the overall review now. So, guys, here's the review for you. Now, yesterday, I had actually introduced the new concept of pointers. I think we need to make that a little more efficient. So, that's why I have removed the pointers part today. But definitely from tomorrow, you will get a better version of the pointers in a little more efficient way. Okay, guys? Okay. So, the first article over here, as you can find or as you can see, is a deepening crisis. Now, this particular article is about the education system of our country. Now, the way in which our present education system exists or persists, do you think, my dear friends, we are going to be a superpower soon? If India has to be a superpower by 2030 or before than that, is our present education system sufficient for that? Does our present education system suffice for that? I think your answer will be in negative. Well, guys, this particular article is a very, very important article because we have seen recently the trend of various bank examinations or other examinations as well focus extremely on education. And all of you who have got your syndicated bank exam, it's also a very important article for your descriptive point of view. Okay, guys, so do consider this article as an important one, and we will analyze this for the first time today itself. Now, at left, you can find over here, Gem of a Scam. Now, this is another very important article. It's a financial article. It's a financial fraud article. And I am sure that if we go through this article, we shall learn a lot about financial terms and financial transactions, and also about this particular scam over here. So, we will analyze this article too. Now, going further downstairs, okay, over here, making up for lost time. All right, so perhaps, the Canadian Prime Minister, well, most probably is going to have a meeting with its Indian counterpart for sure. And this particular meeting between the Indians and the Canadians is going to be extremely, extremely important. And perhaps that's why this particular article has been written. All those of you who are preparing for UPSC examination, this article is an extremely important one because it's actually a diplomacy-based article. And I am sure that you will learn a lot from this particular article if you analyze this for sure. Then at What's left over here? Change of guard. Now, Jacob Zuma's exit as South Africa's president must lead to an institutional cleanup. Well, guys, what appears from the subheading is perhaps Jacob Zuma was not a very clean leader of South Africa, and perhaps a lot of murky activities would have been there since he was there as the president. Well, this what I can make out from this particular subheading. But anyway, if you want to read this article, you can definitely read this one. Well, South Africa's there's a term in Hindi that's called Tare Gardish Mein Hona. Recently, South Africa's Tare have been in Gardish because they have lost 5-1 to us most probably. Well, I think it's 4-1 right now. We'll make it 5-1 anyway. So perhaps not good times for South Africa. And here's another point, because Jacob Zuma is resigning as well. So perhaps some problems have been going on in South Africa, and this is an article for the same regarding their politics. If you have interest, you can definitely read this one for sure. Now, going further downstairs, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so here is a very important opinion-based question. All those of you who are preparing for GD or interview, this is an important article. Should Supreme Court proceedings be live streamed? Now, this is a good article. It's more of an opinion-based article, and I am sure that you will love this if you are preparing for GD and interview, because it's a very important one. You will learn a lot of points over here. Now, further downstairs, you can find over here at left C, protecting the girl child. So all those of you who talk about women empowerment, I am sure this is an article that you would love for sure. So all the ladies out there, I think this is one article that you should read for sure. And not only the ladies, I think all the boys over there as well. If you want to become better men, you must read and understand this article as well. Because see, simply because you are a boy and ultimately when you grow older, you become a man. See, that might be true biologically, but mentally, you only become a man when you ultimately learn the manners and you ultimately learn how to treat women well around you. And that's why it's said that manners maketh a man. So anyway, guys, that was a little moral science from me. Anyway, guys, now we can come back to the central screen, please, if we can do that. Okay. So we just took a review of all the important articles, and I think you'd agree that now it's time for us to take a look at the most important article that I had focused on, by the way, in the beginning of the show. So let's begin with the first article that we have here for you. Now, the first article is a deepening crisis. Now, what exactly is this crisis? Our national aspirations will remain unmet at long as we fall to prioritize education. Now, this is, by the way, this article has been, composed by Krishna Kumar. So, the author says over here, we have got a lot of aspirations that we want to achieve this, we want to achieve that as a nation, we want to become a superpower as a nation. But then again, until and unless our the education system gets prioritized, we will not be able to achieve whatever we dream of. Now, let's understand more about this article. So, the more necessary it seems, the less likely it gets. That is the story of public spending on education. So now, as far as the story of public spending on education is concerned, now you might think that, see, education is a very important point, but from the point of view of public spending, it does not seem so important. Though it is necessary, but the amount of public spending on education has been really very low. Now, why is that? Let's understand more over here. In 1966, Kothari Commission had said in its voluminous report that India should aim at spending 6% of its GDP on education. In 1966, what's the year? In 1966. Now, I am focusing on this year because this is very important from your own point of view, from your own knowledge point of view. So, note down this particular thing. In 1966, which commission had said? The Kothari Commission. And what exactly did they say? They said that India should spend at least 6% of its GDP on education. So you can actually, you should do one thing, get a notebook or get a diary or something, and note this thing down. And write the first point, in 1966 equals to Kothari Commission equals to 6% GDP spending on education. Alright, so you can note it down like this so that it will be better for you for future reference. So anyway. So, in 1966, the Kothari Commission had very clearly said that India needs to spend at least 6% of its GDP on what? On education. Now, let's understand more. more than half a century later, we are spending less than 3% of our GDP on education. Now, this whole scenario, the Kothari Commission came in 1966, right? 1966 was more than 50 years earlier. If you count, by the way, you will find it was more than 50 years earlier, right? So perhaps, you know, if you what do you say? This is 2018. Now subtract 1966 from 2018. Perhaps you will get the answer. My maths is a little weak, but yes, you will get the correct answer. And even though my maths is weak, I can read from this article and I can tell you for sure it has been more than 50 years, very clearly for sure. So even after 50 years of 1966, we are still spending how much? We are not even properly spending 3% of our GDP. We are spending less than 3% of our GDP on education. More than 50 years after the Kothari Commission had said that our spending on GDP, our spending on education should be at least 6% of the GDP. So I think you have got the basic picture over here. Let's understand more. Now, D.S. Kothari's recommendation gives us a symbolic measure of the importance given to education. Now see, the D.S. Kothari's recommendation, that guy, whole entire his commission, you know, the entire Kothari Commission, or in fact, D.S. Kothari's recommendation about spending, you know, 6% of the GDP on education very clearly shows that what exactly is the importance of education. In fact, how significant is education for a nation. It is said, you know, that even if you domesticate a wild animal from childhood, let's just say if there's a lion cub, and if you teach a lion cub how to be a domestic animal, it will remain a domestic animal in its entire life, because that is how it has been educated from right in the beginning. So in the same way, my dear friends, it's very important to get the proper education right from beginning, and perhaps that's why D.S. Kothari had recommended that India needs to spend at least 6% of its GDP on education itself. Now, let's understand more over here. So, at the time the commission is chaired by him was drafting its report, India was passing through a difficult period. Now, in 1966, we can say that it was a really difficult period when this entire, you know, commission was drafting this report. Well, in 1965, we had the war with Pakistan, and see, no matter whether you win or lose a war, you do lose substantial amount of men and a substantial amount of resources. So yes, definitely, India was going through a really bad time. Now, let's understand more what other problems were there. Famines, wars, and political uncertainty were taking their toll. So, first of all, yes, war happened, by the way. And then, if we just talk about anything else except the war, there were famines all over the nation. You know, it's called bhukmari in Hindi. So there were famines all over the nation. People were dying because of not getting proper food. Political uncertainty also prevailed because various leaders and various political parties were negotiating for various demands. A lot of issues were there in 1966 at the time this particular recommendation came. Now, the economy was stuck in sluggish growth and the idealism of the freedom struggle was waning. So ultimately, these three problems which we just counted, famine, wars and political struggle, these three existed. Now besides them, you know, even the economy of our nation was growing really very slowly. And the idealism of the freedom struggle, which we had attained not much more but hardly, 20 years back then, and we attained in 47 and perhaps we are talking about 1966 over here. So ultimately just 19 years. So 19 years into independence and the idealism of our freedom struggle was already waning. It was already reducing. If you want to know the meaning of waning, it means reducing. Alright. So I hope guys that you got the basic crux in the beginning of this article. What exactly is this article about? Don't worry, we will analyze this article further, but I hope that you got the basic idea over here. Now let's take a look at the question that we have got here for you. So can we have a look at question number 1 right here for you? So which of the following is not true according to para 1? Now statement A is the more necessary it seems, the less likely it gets. That is the story of public spending on education. Now, statement B says more than half a century later, we are spending less than 1% of our GDP on education. Alright, statement C says the economy was stuck in sluggish growth and the idealism of the freedom struggle was waning. So guys, there are 3 points and I'm sure that you will be able to give the correct answer for all of these 3 points, that's for sure. But anyway, I think let's analyze them. First of all, first statement A is the more necessary it seems, the less likely it gets. That is the story of public spending on education. Now, is it about public spending or shall we use private spending over here? What do you think about that? Then statement B says more than half a century later, we are spending less than 1% of our GDP on education. Is this point right, or perhaps it was something else? Now, then statement C says the economy was stuck in sluggish growth and the idealism of the freedom struggle was waning. Is this correct, or perhaps the idealism of the freedom struggle was also increasing? Was it waning or was it increasing? What's correct over here? Well, as far as not true is concerned, it has to be statement B, and that's option number 2, only B. Now, why is that? Because more than half a century later, we actually were spending less than how much? What was in the article? It was less than 3%. Alright, so that's why, guys, it was not 1%, it was less than 3%. So that is why option number 2, only B, is the correct answer, and I hope, my dear, you have answered the same. Always write your answers in the comment box, in the comment section, so that it increases our interaction. I hope you have answered your question in the comment box. Okay, now let's come back to this article and let's understand more over here. So, walking the talk. Now, conditions are rather different today. Alright, definitely things have improved because there's no famine, it hardly exists anymore compared to in 1966. Wars have, ultimately waned off. Yes, there have been more than 200 ceasefire violations by Pakistan this year, but definitely it's better than before. There were times of war, and now perhaps it's not time of war anymore. And political uncertainty has reduced to some particular limit, to some particular point, because now they are established 2 major parties and 2 major democratic alliances. So that's really good to see now. Anyway, so conditions have improved, and perhaps now we can understand more about this article. So why is that? Well, by any standards, India is more prosperous today and people's aspirations are higher. So definitely, India is prosperous. India is more prosperous than it was in 1966, and in fact, the aspirations of the people has also got higher. Now, education is actually valued across different sections and strata. So whether it's people who live in northern India, or the people who live in southern India, or the people who live in eastern India, or the people who live in western India, or the people who live in central India, no matter which part of the country you belong to, you will always find that education is extremely important and education is highly valued. So that's the point over here. Education is valued across different sections and strata very highly. Now, despite this favorable social climate, education has failed to become a matter of national concern. So definitely, it's a very favorable social climate, but still, education has failed to become a matter of national concern, to become a matter of, of perhaps a concern, or in fact, something that has to be considered very seriously across the nation. Now, every year, the union budget indicates that it is not a high priority, although it is loudly announced to do so. In 1966, now once again I'd like to point out over here, in 1966 the Kothari Commission had very clearly recommended that India needs to spend 6% of its GDP on education. 50 years, more than 50 years later, we are spending less than 3%, not even half of what they had recommended. We are spending less than 3% of our GDP on education. And by the way, each and every year, the union budget very clearly, rejects the high priority that should be given to education, and perhaps it actually always, it's always focused that education is extremely important, but it always gets rejected when it comes to the priority part. Now, anyway, so let's answer more about this. Anyway, this year's budget is also no different. So just the way it had been coming, just the way various budgets have gone and come, the same thing happened with this particular budget as well, which came in the year 2018-19. Well, now once again, now why is that? Well, the budget which we can see for this particular year, it offers a marginal increase on different routine expenses and reductions on some. So perhaps this year's budget, offers a very marginal increase on different routine expenses and also reduction on some, marginal reduction on some. So there has been a little what we say 19-20 in Hindi, 19-20 badlav hua hai. So very little, very marginal increase and decrease on various, spendings and savings. Now, there is no sign of funds to enable institutional recovery for a prolonged period of damage caused by financial cuts in higher education. So perhaps no proper funding has been given for any particular institutional recovery which can be there, which should have been there or which could have been there after extreme cuts, after extended periods of damage caused by financial cuts in the higher education. So perhaps a lot of institutions have suffered because of the financial reductions, but then again, even this year that does not provide any relief at all, because they're still the same, the same story. Once again, education got rejected in the union budget. Now, let's understand more. In elementary education, supply of funds for more improvement in quality is no more certain. No funds are in sight to sustain the bold dream of making the right to education a sustainable reality. Now, as far as the elementary education is, concerned, the funds which should have been there for improvement of quality, for improvement of elementary education for all the children, it has not been there. This just exists in a state of mind because it does not exist in practicality at all. There have been no substantial improvement in the supply of funds for improvement quality of elementary education. On the other point, India's dream of making right to education a sustainable reality, a consistent reality, it actually remains a dream. It does not become a reality anymore. So guys, I hope that you are getting this article, and if you are understanding this article, do write "it is clear, sir" in the comment section. So whatever I have explained to you so far, is it clear to you? Do write in the comment section, "Yes sir, it is clear." Now, my dear friends, it's time to take a look at question number 2 for you. So let's take a look at question number 2 now. Vocab time. So guys, now you have to give me the synonym for the word voluminous. I'm pretty sure that you would have come across this word while we were actually understanding the article. So anyway guys, now tell me, what's the synonym for the word voluminous from the options of lacking, bellowing, meager and little? Well guys, I'll help you out because I'll just analyze these words for you as well. Now, little means very small. Meager also means extremely less. Bellowing means which is something which is very large, or something perhaps something which is expanding. Lacking means something which lacks something or which is not complete, which is incomplete. Well, I hope that you would have answered till now. Do write your answers in the comment box for sure. Then option number 2, bellowing, which means expanding, is pretty close to voluminous, which means huge or extremely or expanding. So guys, option number 2 is the correct synonym for the word voluminous. Now let's come back to this particular article once again, if you can do that please. All right, now I'll just yes, that's correct for you. So in his budget speech, the finance minister referred to the importance of teacher education. Although this year's budget was no different as far as the allocation of funds is concerned to education, but then again, the finance minister, the honorable finance minister, did refer to the importance of teacher education. Well, this is actually quite good. Now, why is that? Because see, that's what the author feels as well. So this was a welcome reference and somewhat rare too. Teacher training constitutes a relatively invisible low-status sector of the system. So as far as education and as far as the teacher training is concerned, it constitutes a relatively invisible, perhaps which is not properly visible at all, or a very low-status sector of the system. So nobody actually cares about teacher training when it comes to our nation. Okay, let's understand more. It seldom receives high-level attention. A few prestigious colleges that were set up under the British rule a century ago have lost their sheen. So perhaps, now first of all, teachers training does not receive high-level attention. That's something which is crystal clear. Another point over here is that a few prestigious colleges, institutions, which were actually set up under the British rule, they have lost their sheen. Means they are not at all, perhaps they are not in focus anymore. So they do not have their shine, which they actually had, when they were being set up. Now it has been more than a century and they have lost their sheen. They have lost their importance as well. Now, in the discourse of policy 2, teachers and training stays on margin. So perhaps, since the teacher training is not really good, as far as the explanation of teachers is concerned, it also on an average, it also remains very marginally okay. So that's why, since we don't have very good teachers, we'll definitely not have a very good education system as well. Now, and the current popular term, public policy, does not cover teacher education at all. So whatever policy is there, which is properly called as public policy, it does not cover the education of the teacher at all. So, the public policy doesn't even cover the education of the teacher, just forget about the student. Now, some years ago, its inner reality was revealed by the commission appointed by the Supreme Court under the chairmanship of the late Chief Justice of India, J.S. Verma. Now, a few years ago, the actual reality of the teacher education, it was very clearly revealed and shown by a commission which was appointed by the Supreme Court under the chairmanship of the late Chief Justice of India, J.S. Verma. Now, what's that, by the way? What did this report recommend or showed or revealed? The report of the commission brought to public attention that the dismal state of teacher education, especially the corruption that has seeped into the regulatory system put in place in the mid-1990s. So perhaps, initially in the mid-1990s, there used to be, a new teacher education mechanism was set up. But then of late, what happened as the time passed by, corruption seeped into the entire system of teacher education, and perhaps which actually reduced or reduced or rotted the entire system of teacher education. Now some of you might know or might want to know what's the meaning of dismal. It means it's disappointing state, alright, or disappointing condition. Now, rampant commercialization and rigid bureaucratic control combined to stifle any possibility of academic growth in teacher education. Now, corruption is not something which just comes on its own. Definitely, there has to be some existent factors because of which the corruption is going to come. Because corruption is like that bacteria which needs a proper environment to grow. And how does the bacteria of corruption grow? It grows on, on rigid bureaucratic controls and also on rapid commercialization. So when rapid commercialization adds up with rigid bureaucratic control, it is equals to corruption. So that's the point which happened over here as well, because there was extreme commercialization of institutions and education in India, and there was extremely hard bureaucratic control which was put in place, and because of these two things, rampant corruption happened, and the teacher education, which was the actual thing why they were put into place, it just died a very painful death. Now, the Justice Verma Commission offered several good remedies, to improve the entire condition. By the way, I think that's what should be written over here, to improve the regulatory structure, and for a little while it seemed as if things were moving forward, but the progress could not be sustained. So Justice Verma Committee, it was mentioned they also gave some recommendations how the entire teacher education system could be revived, but just as Justice Verma also, we lost him, and he left us for his heavenly abode, the entire recommendation which his committee had forwarded, it also ended. So that's the point over here, guys, and I am sure that you would have got a very, very good idea about this article and how important is this article. Let me repeat once again that this particular article is very important from your syndicate bank, Canara Bank, SBI Clerk, and no matter what exam you're giving point of view, because this is a must read and must understand article. So do understand this article for sure. Do you promise that you will understand this article, that you will read this article? Write in the comment section, I promise, sir. I promise. Come on, guys. I want to see that comment. I promise, sir, from you. Okay, guys. Now let's go back to the question that we have here for you. Can we please have question number 3? So, guys, here's question number 3 for you. So, which of the following is true according to para? Now, see, statement A says over here, by any standards, India is more prosperous today and people's aspirations are higher. Is this true or should this be something else? Now, statement B says, 2017's budget is no different. Excuse me. It offers a marginal increase on different routine expenses and reduction on some. Is this true or should this be something else? Then statement C says rampant commercialization and rigid bureaucratic control combine to stifle any possibility of academic growth in teacher education. Now, is this true or should this be something else? Well, let's analyze these statements. Let's start from statement C. So it says rampant commercialization. So was it sluggish commercialization or was it rampant commercialization? What's true? What do you think about that? Now, statement B says 2017's budget is no different. Okay. Is it similar? Now, was the 2017's budget similar? And that's what we are talking about over here, or are we talking about something else? Well, then statement A says, by any standards, India is more prosperous today and people's aspirations are higher. Now, are the aspirations of people higher today or are the aspirations of people lower? What do you say about this? Well, anyway, guys, if we take a look at statement A, statement B and statement C, the correct answer regarding which of the following is true is going to be option number 4. Now, why is that? Because statement B is not true as it talks about 2017 budget and we are not in the year 2017 anymore. We are in the year of 2018. So, it has to be the budget of 2018-19, which means the 2018-19 budget is actually no different, should be there, not 2017 budget, which means, guys, option number 4, only C and A is the correct answer. And I hope that you have mentioned the same in your comments. Always mention your answers in the comment section. If you haven't done it so far, do it right now. Now, guys, so that's question number 1, 2 and 3 for you. Now, let's take a look at question number 4 that we have here for you. Can we have the next vocab based question, please? So, guys, here's the next vocab based question for you. Now, guys, what's the correct antonym for the word dismal from the options which are depressing, dull, cheerful and ghastly? So, guys, let's just, analyze these questions, these options one by one. Now, the first option is depressing. So, depressing means something which makes you sad. Dull means something, which has got no energy at all, completely without energy. Cheerful means something which is extremely, which is something full of energy. Then ghastly is something, which is extremely soul-shattering or, extremely negative or extremely, lacking of energy or like that. Well, guys, when it's about dismal, dismal means disappointing or something which has not got at all any kind of energy. That means the antonym of the word dismal, I hope you have mentioned in the comments in your correct answer, and it is option number 3, cheerful. So, guys, question number 4's correct answer is option number 3, cheerful. Till now, we have already discussed the first article. I hope your score has reached 4 on 4 for sure. If it's not 4 on 4, even 3 on 4 is also a very nice score. Now, guys, let's come to the newspaper for the next article which we have here. Can we have the next article, please? So, guys, here is the next article for you. It's Gem of a Scam. So, perhaps you would have heard gem of a person, and this is the first time I think that you will be hearing about gem of a scam. Now, why is that? See, the PNB fraud must be speedily investigated to restore faith in the banking system. 11,500 crore, that's a really, really huge amount. So, 11,500 crore, rupees gets moved out of the Bank of Punjab National Bank and nobody gets a clue. So, perhaps this is something which is going to shatter the faith of the people in the banking system for sure, and that's why the entire fraud, entire PNB fraud, it needs to be very quickly investigated so that the faith of the people gets restored back in the banking system of PNB. Now, a regulatory filing to the stock exchanges by PNB has blown the lid of a 11,500 crore fraud. So, perhaps, from time to time, the various banks, and various institutions which are actually listed in the stock exchange, they are supposed to do proper filling, regulatory filling, and a regularly scheduled filling, of the stock exchange to the stock exchange by the PNB actually revealed the 11,500 crore fraud which happened with the Punjab National Bank. Now, how's that? Well, perhaps the largest such scam in India. Yes, it's the largest such scam in India. It was perpetrated by a maverick diamond merchant in collusion with bank officials at a single branch in South Mumbai. Now, it's not as if 11,500 crore fraud happened nationwide with all the inclusion of all the branches of the PNB, it is a matter of a single branch. Now, a single branch in South Mumbai, the officials, the bank officials of the PNB, they colluded, means, you know, they coordinated with actually a diamond merchant, a maverick kind of a diamond merchant, so perhaps, you know, who was extremely mischievous, or perhaps we can say a thief rather. He was a thief because he stole this money. It was all public money, not his money. So, you know, a thief diamond merchant, you know, he colluded and, you know, coordinated with various bank officials at a single branch of South Mumbai and stole away 11,500 crore rupees. Now, for India's second largest bank to be defrauded in the manner suggested is astounding, especially since there has been heightened security of public sector banks' operations in the last few years. So, after Mr. Malia gave us the king of good time surprise, you know, there has been heightened security measures which have been taken across various banks, and still, you know, despite the heightened security measures, a fraud of 11,500 crore takes place. This actually, you know, raises questions all across the entire scrutiny system of our nation. Now, let's understand more about this. The bank's audit committees and boards, as well as the central bank, which conducts routine financial inspections of the bank books, have been ostensibly keeping a close watch on the loans that have turned substandard or are on the verge of default. Now, definitely every particular bank, whether it's a public bank or a private bank, in fact, every particular institution, you know, has its own audit committees. Even the Punjab National Bank, which is the second largest PSB of our nation, you know, public sector bank of our nation, it also has got its own audit committee and its own audit committees and boards, and also the boards of the Reserve Bank of India, the committees of the Reserve Bank of India have been keeping a very close watch on the various money that has gone away and has not come back to the form of loans, you know. So, they are keeping a very close watch. They have been keeping a very close watch on the various loans that have been there, which has turned default. And yet, this whole scam happened right under their nose. So, that's something that's really very astounding and surprising. The government, you know, the government which often blamed the pile of bad loans on crony capitalism during the UPA regime, just last a month unveiled a plan to infuse about 1 lakh crore into the 21 capital-starved public sector bank this fiscal. So, perhaps, you know, the present government, I'm not going to name any kind of people, but anyway, the present government, which actually blames the previous government for the various problems of the NPAs that exist in the banking system because of crony capitalism, you know, they had actually uncovered a plan of infusing 1 lakh crore rupees in the banking system in the 21 capital-starved public sector banks this particular year. Now, what was the share of the PNB? Let's understand more. Of this, 5,473 crore is to be injected into the PNB. So, even if the actual loss to the bank ends up incurring on account of this fraud is half the stated amount, its capital adequacy ratio will be back to the same level before its recapitalization was announced. Now, although I always say, and it's actually true, that my maths is not very good, but even I can subtract 5,473 from the 11,500 crore rupees. And if you subtract that, it still comes to 6,100 crore rupees. So that means even if the bank receives 5,473 crore rupees under the infusion plan of the government, still they will have a loss of 6,100 crore. And perhaps that is something which is going to make their conditions similar to the beginning, which was there before the infusion of the government. So this is something that's really very astounding and surprising from the PNB point of view. Anyway, its market capitalization has tanked 8,077 crore over the past 2 days, with the share price falling over 20% since the news broke. So perhaps the market capitalization of the PNB, it has tanked, rather it has fallen all of a sudden to, and in fact, the PNB has lost 8,077 crore over the past 2 days, just 2 days, and a loss of 8,077 crore. And the share price of the PNB has fallen over 20%. since the news broke. Now, this is a huge margin. So, I hope guys that you got the basic idea of this entire article and you will be able to understand that what exactly is this article all about. Now, let's take a look at the series of questions that we have here for you. So, let's take a look at the para jumble, Royal Rumble para jumble, which is waiting for you. Can we have the para jumble, please? So guys, here is the para jumble for you. It's a very beautiful 8-sentencer. Now, I have told you again and again what to do. So, do this again today. You know, just go through all the statements one by one. Then analyze and check which has to be the first statement. Then form the logical pairs and then, you know, align them properly. So, I hope you understood what has to be done. Pause the video right now and arrange the para jumble. I hope you paused the video. Now guys, let's take a look at the correct answer of the para jumble, please. So guys, here is the correct answer of the para jumble. The correct order has to be G-A-H-B-F-D-E-C. It's G-A-H-B-F-D-E-C. Okay. Now see, statement G starts this particular para jumble, which says a regulatory filing to the stock exchange by Punjab National Bank has blown the lid off our rupees 11,500 crore fraud. Then adding more adds in statement A, which says perhaps the largest such as scam in India. It was perpetrated by a maverick diamond. What diamond? Diamond merchant. That given statement H. Diamond merchant in collusion with the bank officials at a single branch in South Mumbai. And now what's that? And what's more, that's given statement B. Well, for India's second largest bank to be defrauded in the manner suggested is astounding. It's extremely surprising. Now, why is that? Because that's given statement F, especially since there has been a heightened security of the public sector banks' operations in the last few years rather. Alright, now how is that? Well, that's given statement D. The bank's audit committees and boards as well as the central bank, what have they done? That's given statement E, which conducts routine financial inspections of the bank's books have been doing what? They have been ostensibly, very clearly, you know, keeping a close watch on the loans that have turned substandard or are on the verge of default. So, I hope guys that you got this particular arrangement correct. Now, write in the comment section that what was the order that you got. Did you get all the 8 sentences correct? Did you get 6 of them correct? Did you get 7 of them correct? Because it's really good, you know. Just try. If you got 5 correct today, if you got 6 correct today, you will get 7 correct tomorrow. And then again, if you try better, you will get all the sentences correct for sure. So, keep on trying. Keep on trying. If it's not correct on Monday, it will be correct on Tuesday. If it's not correct on Tuesday, it will be correct on Wednesday. If it's not correct on Wednesday, it will be correct on Thursday. But keep on trying, you know. It will, because the day will come when it will be correct for sure. So, never give up. I had told you in the beginning of the session for sure. Now, let's go on and take a look at the vocab-based question which we have for you. So, guys, you have to tell me what's the synonym for the word perpetrate from the options of leave, halt, abstain, execute. Write the answer in the comment section below the video. Come on, people, write the answer in the comment section. Anyway, let's analyze this option, by the way. So, leave means to leave, you know, just leave something, you know, not do something, or to leave it or just go away. These are the 2 meanings of leave. Halt means to stop something, all right, just end, stop. Abstain means to stop somebody from doing something, or from stopping yourself, you know, from doing something. Execute means to do something or enact something or perhaps to commit something. Well, now perpetrate, as far as the perpetrate is concerned, the meaning of perpetrate is actually committing, and the term perpetrate is mainly used for a crime. So, over here, if we talk about the synonym of perpetrate or commit, it has to be option number 4, execute. I hope you had mentioned the same in the comment section in your answer. Now, guys, let's take a look at question number 7, which is a very interesting question, and I think all of you should answer this correctly. Now, can we have the next question, please? So, what exactly is the theme of the paragraph? Now, there are various options over here. Option number 1 is the fraud of PNB. Is this correct? Option number 2 is the mother of all PNB schemes. Is this correct? Statement C says, statement 3 says, the rupees 11,500 crore fraud of PNB. Then option number 4 says the infusion of 1 lakh crore in PNB. Then option number 5 says the rupees 5,047 Okay, 5,473 crore injected in PNB. So guys, now if you take a look at all of these answers, I am sure that you will be stuck in option number 1 and option number 3. But you need to understand over here that which of these options provide better information about the theme of the paragraph, and that has to be option number what? Write in the comment section. What's your answer? Write in the comment section. It has to be option number 3. The rupees 11,500 crore fraud of PNB, because this is clearer and it's better than option number 1 because it adds more information. So that's why guys, option number 3 is the correct answer, and I hope you answered the same in the comment section. Now guys, let's take a look at the final question of our session. So here's the last question as well. So what's the synonym, or okay, what's the antonym for the word infuse from the options of imbue, dehydrate, input, or leaven? So guys, give us your correct answer and give us your answer in the comment section. Come on people, answer quickly. Okay, so see, there are various answers over here, you know. Imbue, you know, means to provide something perhaps. Then dehydrate means to, well, what do you say? Not provide something, you know, just make something go dry without providing something. Then input is once again, it means to provide input, you know, to give something to somebody. Then leaven is something which means to provide something to somebody over here. It's not that leave, it's leaven. There's a difference between leave and leaven. So anyway, well, I think you would have answered your question till now. In the comment section, you would have given your answer till now. It's option number 2, dehydrate. See, infuse means to provide something, dehydrate means to not provide something and make someone or something go dry. So it has to be option number 2, dehydrate. So guys, that's the correct answer, and I hope with that question, this session comes to an end. You enjoyed the session. Thank you for liking the video, because I am sure that you would have liked the video so far as well. What was the best thing that you liked about today's video? Do write in the comment section for sure, and share this video with all the aspirants of UPSC, Syndicate Bank, SBI Clerk, you know, and also of your Canara Bank examination and other examination, because this is extremely important for UPSC, banking, CLAT and CTET examinations. I will meet you again, and once again, if you want the link of the Hindi session, it's given in the pinned comment. You will also find the PDF of the PPT of this particular show in the pinned comment. And as of now, peace out.